This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. And today I have on a young woman who I just met. I've known about her for quite a while. Her name is Jennie Moss, and she is my cousin's daughter. And you live in the Northeast somewhere. That's all I know about you and your family recently. Um, but I saw you on Facebook and I saw your artwork, and I love to share with other people things that are beautiful and that they may not have run across because they weren't connected with you. And so I'm really glad that I am. And let's take a couple steps back and tell me, when did you begin to realize that art was something you were good at and you wanted to do?
Sure. So I kind of have a more like unconventional path, I guess. I did like to draw when I was little, and my mom drew house portraits professionally for many years, so she would often just kind of draw with me when I was younger, and she's very good at like very realistic drawings. So I drew when I was younger, and then in high school, I would draw to music. I would like play songs and I would draw images that came to me as I was listening to the songs. And sometimes I would like listen to the songs multiple times before like the image was finished. And then I didn't draw too much after that. I took like a few art classes in high school. I majored in marketing in college, but I always loved the design aspect of marketing, but I didn't draw that much then. And then 2 years after graduating, so I graduated in 2020, and then 2 years after that, um, I drew. I just like started drawing out of feeling like there was one evening in particular where I was just kind of like feeling on edge, like feeling a little anxious, and I drew and I really enjoyed it. And I also got back into drawing to music where I would like play certain songs and then draw. Um, but yeah, I just like kept drawing. I had a friend who was also like very, very supportive. I showed people at a market, like I had more people be more supportive. And at that stage, I already knew that I wanted to have my own business. Like after college, I kind of had the seed in my mind, and my parents have their own business. So it was kind of an entrepreneurial like family anyway.
Yeah, right.
So I already had that in mind, but I didn't like really consider art to be what I wanted to do until like 2 years after. Because I knew that I wanted to do something that I could like keep going with. And there were other business ideas that I tried, but they didn't feel like personal enough to me for me to keep it going. So yeah, it was 2 years after college where I was doing my drawing more and like I really enjoyed it. It was just fun. I would get like random ideas kind of out of the blue and I would just draw them. And the more that I heard people like say how cool it looked and everything, I was like, oh wow, like this is really cool. Like this is just something that like comes so naturally to me, but it's cool that people really enjoy it.
I,
Um,
I love the fact that you draw to music. So as you hear the music, you get an image of something, and that sort of goes
yes.
from the brain to your hand, and you're off and running with it. Um,
Yeah.
and your family does have some musical background as well, and so that sort of like goes together. And I love that thought. My brother, who is a music producer, I've often asked him, where do artists get their ideas from? Like you'll hear a song and you'll think like, where do those images come from? And, he has said to me, people just go deep inside and it's what they're feeling at the time. And that's why oftentimes a piece of artwork, piece of music can get changed years later because this is what you were thinking about today. But 10 years from now, you may have a different vision of that.
Yes.
So you started your own business, but you still work in the family business.
Yes.
So is that a conflict for you, because you're trying to do two things at once?
It is a bit of a juggling act sometimes. So when I started my business, I actually started working with a coach immediately because I knew that there was just going to be like a lot of emotional stuff and a lot of fear that came up, especially because like I'm someone anyway where like it's hard for me to kind of try new things and take risks. Like I'm not really a risk-taking person. I've never really considered myself such. So, and having just someone else that I was working with, like that helped me kind of like emotionally and mentally like sort through a lot of the fears and the doubts in a way where it was easier for me to kind of juggle things and to feel like, okay, like even though there's a lot going on, like I can kind of work with what's going on. So it can be stressful some days. But like my family is also very supportive. All my coworkers know what I'm doing. Um, so I feel like it's it's something I can kind of work with and kind of like navigate the ups and downs.
Well, I think you did a very wise thing by working with a coach, because oftentimes when we start a business, um, we have this grandiose idea of what we want to do, and we just jump in feet first and hope that we're not going to drown. And I know when I started podcasting and writing 10 years ago, um, I'll never forget my oldest brother called me up and he said, "What do you think you're doing?" And I said,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. I said, "I'm following my dream." And he goes, "Oh, okay. But do you know what you're doing?" And my first reaction was, "Yes, sort of, but no, not really." In the first year, I did it totally on my own, making mistakes, learning things. And then I finally, too, went and found a coach. And sometimes that coach showed me some things that, I really was doing wrong, but told me in such a way that I had to see it, not that the coach said, "Hey, Karen, that's wrong." It's like, "Look at this. Is there a better way of doing it?"
Yeah,
So,
that's helpful. It's
yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. So, where do you see your artwork going? What is it that you would like to do with it?
So I think I see two things. Like I personally just want to keep like honing my skills as an artist. I have like so many different image ideas. Like I have a whole document with just like all these things that come to mind. And I have different ideas of like different kinds of things I could draw, like different themes. Like I like incorporating nature into my drawings and just like drawings that kind of have a feeling of like calmness and peacefulness. Um, so I see myself personally just like getting better, like honing my style, getting better at like the technical aspect of what I'm doing. Um, but also just like the broader mission of like inspiring others to also be creative. I think like I've talked to a lot of people where sometimes it's like just having a space to be creative without pressure, without judgment, without like it has to look a certain way, like just that can be like it just can open the door for people to like draw or create whatever. So that's kind of something I don't know exactly like what form that would take or what that would look like. Um, but that's something I'd love to do where I'm like engaging with other artists or other people who are artistic or super creative, um, just kind of helping create that space where other people can kind of unleash their creativity.
Well, and we're living in a world with a lot of judgment, and yet those of us who are coaches or work with coaches, we know that judgment kills us, even when we're judging ourselves. I know when I first started, I did not go back and listen to any of my podcasts. And when I wrote something and put it out, I didn't go back and read it. I read it
I
before it
feel
went
that.
out. Okay.
I feel
Um,
that.
because I knew that if I went back out even a day later and didn't like it, I was going to delete it. And it was like, you know
Yes.
what? I liked it now. It's going to go out now. Um, and that's a hard thing for many of us because we grew up with judgments, not on purpose, but everybody around us, was trying to help us. So it's like, well, that's not the best way to ride a bicycle. So I'm going to show you how to ride it. Or I remember when I took art classes, my art teacher believed I was better when I used my left hand, and I'm a righty, totally a righty. But there
Mm-hmm.
was something about putting either a paintbrush or a charcoal pencil in my left hand, and I came up with images. And I didn't see them at first. And then, getting decent grades in art, I went back and started looking and was like, yeah, when I use my right hand, it becomes scribble. Don't understand it. And I don't want to become an artist. So I'm sort of looking in that vein. But a lot of the drawings I've seen so far of yours, they are very natural. So are they natural because of the business that your family has been in, and it's sort of like your background being um, health conscious and, you know, sensing the earth at all?
Um, I'm not sure honestly where it comes from. I like I mean, I think the fact that my mom was an artist, I think just like having that influence probably had an effect on me. And the fact that like I have always been a very creative person. But I honestly don't know. It's just what's always like come naturally to me. I guess in high school my drawings didn't always actually some of them had nature elements, but not all of them. Um, but also, I mean, maybe also just like the fact that I live in an area where there is a lot of nature. Like even in elementary school, like the elementary school I went to, there was a lot of like focus on like getting kids out into nature, like learning different things. So I think it's always been like a a calming and like kind of mysterious influence on me. And I think that kind of
Yeah.
influences my art.
Yeah. I always like to figure out, where that influence comes from. Because I love nature, but that's not the first thing I think of if I were to put something together, whether it be writing something, um, or even just going out and looking for artwork that would speak to me. However, your artwork did, and it reminded me of my sister-in-law's photography. She photographs,
Gorgeous.
and it's not necessarily that beautiful rose that's growing on the rose bush. It's that rose that is at the end of life and it's ready for composting, and she shows the beauty in it. And because of her, I had a bouquet of roses about a month ago, and I let them stay in my kitchen till almost every petal fell off. And I
Oh,
learned to appreciate every stage of life they went through. And I saw their color differently. I saw, they were tall and straight, and then they started to, bend over. Most of us don't do that. We say, oh, the flowers are 3 days old, I'm going to throw them away. Well, watch how life takes them.
yeah, different stages.
So you went to college and you went into marketing. So is that what you're doing for the family business? Is marketing your main focus, or?
It's part of it. I have done some like email marketing, some market research. And that I like the aspect of that that's about like building relationships with people. I think that was what drew me to it. In addition to some like family influence, that's what drew me to it was like the design aspect of it and just the idea of like being able to share stories with people. So I think a lot of like marketing is like you're sharing the story, you're sharing the value of what you have, what it means to you, what it means to them. So that's part of what I do. And then I also do some customer service, some packaging and preparing orders, and yeah, some like more like technical website stuff. So combination.
Well, I know your family has a huge background in various areas, so no wonder you do as well. Um, when I look at your website, is there one picture that's out there that is more meaningful to you than any other?
Ooh, like one of my art pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think the one of the like the parent like hugging the child, um, that one I think that one has really resonated with a lot of people. And so I think it kind of like the conversations I've had about that one do mean a lot to me and has like kind of helped me see that piece in a new way. So definitely that one, but also the droplet, like the rose at the bottom with the
Yep.
droplet. Um, that was an interesting one because that one just like kind of came out of nowhere. Like I just started it and then within like 5 minutes, like it was done. And that one I like this happens to me sometimes. I'll like start something and I'm not quite sure what it will be about until the end. Like I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it represents. Or like I'll talk to customers and they have like wildly different interpretations of what they think it means. So I think both of those, just because of like the significance for me, but also the fact that like I've been able to talk to people about what it also means for them and what it brings up for them too.
And I think that's important that as an artist, you can be open to having those conversations because everybody's going to see something a little bit different in those pictures. Um,
Yeah.
so I sent a link to my son and I asked him to look at the picture of the parent and child hugging. He moved to Texas in December. And so being over 1,000 miles apart, it's really, really tough.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think it's tougher for him than it is for me, but either way. But he lived here up until he moved away. And the first thing he said the first week was, I miss getting your hug. And as soon as I saw that picture, I said, you've got to look at this. And when you're feeling lonely, that's me hugging you. And of course, it doesn't look like either one of us, but it's parent and child. And he shared it with another friend of his who also had to move away from home for a job. And she's feeling very, very lonely. And so he sent her the link and he said, my mother found this picture. So if you are very lonely, look at it. It's either me hugging you or your parent hugging you. And, you know, that can mean so much to people because it's something they can look at, they can resonate over it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that picture. That's
Oh, thank
beautiful.
you. Yeah, that's so sweet to hear. And yeah, I the cards for that, those are my one of my most popular designs because I think people send I've had people send them to family members. I had people send them for Mother's Day. So I love hearing
Um,
that.
and in today, so many of us, um, you know, we're doing everything on the internet. So being able to actually see things on the internet, being able to order directly when we see things is,
Yep.
to me, I never thought I would say this, but I prefer doing my shopping on the internet than I do in a store because I get to think about it. I get to really look at it. I don't have somebody asking me to move over because they want to look at the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think you have a great marketing tool up there.
It does help. Helps a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
So if our listeners want to find you, tell us how they can find you and look at your stuff and order, because I mean, hey, we're all in this, even though it's an art, we are all in this to make money along the way, because this is your career.
Yeah, and it directly, especially small artists and artists getting started, it really like it supports you continuing to do your work. It's
Right.
helping to pay for my website, helping to pay for my materials. So yes. So I'm on Instagram. I'll post like some new designs and also just like generally kind of what I'm doing, like my accomplishments, updates. And then my website, www at or .dreamglimmers.com. That's where people can order. And I will be updating that with some new designs too. So I have cards, I have prints, and then people can also buy them framed if they want to.
I love that. I love it. Do you have any ideas swimming in your head for a new project?
I do have, yeah, I do have some new art ideas. um, yeah, I think sometimes my style, like I think starting out, like sometimes my style is a bit more like there's some pieces that I feel like are a bit more like rebellious, which I think like I like exploring because there's definitely like in those pieces there's a lot of like just anger and pain and sadness from the past that I can really like let out in those pieces. But there's also some ideas I've had of like kind of more like the calm after the storm, like the relaxing. Like, so just kind of, I think pieces that show like the full range of like emotional expression, both like a lot of the intensity, but also the like just feeling like you can relax.
Well,
So
I need to relax. I still don't know how to. It's been, my whole life I've been told, just take a deep breath and relax. And it's like, no, I
I've
have
been
one
told
more.
that too.
It
Yeah,
must
just chill.
must be in our genes or something. I don't know. Um, well, I'm so excited that I saw you on Facebook. Obviously, I've known about you, all these years, but you and your family living in the New England area. I get up here there once a year to see my brother in upstate New York, but it's usually we drive 8 hours. We spend 3 days with him and we drive 8 hours back. So we don't see much else. But I am in touch with your Grand Rapids family and they speak so
Nice.
highly of you, especially
Oh,
your Aunt Anne. So
yes.
as, as soon as I saw it, I knew that we wanted to talk about it. I want to get it out on the website and encourage our listeners. Hey, if this is something you even want to do, if you contact Jennie, she can share her trials and tribulations with you. Know that it may be the same, it may be different, because not all of our journeys go exactly the same way.
Yeah. No, exactly. I'm so glad you reached out. I think this is my very first time doing something like this. So, I was like, when you like proposed the idea, I was like, oh my God, whoa. Um, but yeah, I also, yeah, I haven't gotten out to Grand Rapids recently. But yeah, lots of good memories there. And yeah, I like would love to talk to people, especially people who are like at the beginning stages. And also just like letting people know that like I never went to art school. I never like took any like classes. Um, and just like encouraging people to, yeah, go like pursue their creativity and you don't have to like study it in a professional context for it to be professional.
Well, so many of us think that we have to either have a degree in an area or have some sort of background in it. We just can't come out and do things. And interestingly enough, my son, when he took this job down in Texas, he's first day, he said, I have an idea for a design. And he's not an artist in any way, but he has a vision. And he said, we need a shirt that looks like this, this, and this in these colors. And 2 weeks later, somebody had a mock-up for it. And he goes, almost right. And he moved a few things around and they sold it at one of the games that for the team that he works for. And, now he's excited. Now he knows that those thoughts going through his head, he can produce, he can share with others. As he said, it's going to
Yep.
be a thought process for him. He's not going to draw it out, but just the same way that he writes his music, he knows what words he wants to say. He knows what the sound is, but he doesn't play an instrument. And he depends on other people to put it all together to go, yeah, you got it. So
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. And I can't wait to see what you're going to produce next. That would be
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I really
Well,
appreciate the support.
well, give my love to your family. If you guys ever go to Grand Rapids, let me know. That's only a 6 hour ride from here, not 8 hours. So we might be able to get up there and see all of you. That would be wonderful.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, have a great day and thank you again. We'll put all your information in the show notes. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you.
So good to talk to you.
Bye bye.
Bye.